Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James. It's October 21st, 2014, and in this video, I will be talking about days 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21. Because this is the 31 Days of Fright horror movie project year 3, and the movie for those 4 days is the Alien movies. Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. And I'm going to talk about each one for a little bit, and I'll give you my classification at the end of the movie. Now, I love these movies. I really do enjoy watching these movies during the Halloween season. I know I say that a lot because there is a lot of movies that I like to keep watching during the Halloween season. Like Evil Dead and Dawn of the Dead and the Alien movies and The Thing and anything by John Carpenter, basically. So I have some really key movies that I watch during the Halloween season, and Aliens is one of them. So I really do. I mean, these are some of my favorite movies outside of the horror genre too, because they are also science fiction movies, and that's what I like as well. Star Wars, Star Trek, and all that stuff. So it's combining two cool genres that I really do enjoy a lot: science fiction and horror. And I'm just going to get right into telling you what you need to know about the movies. And first up is the plot of these 4 movies. They all are very well connected. I think the biggest gap between the movies is between the 3rd one and 4th one, but I'll get to that in a second. But the start where the beginning, Alien follows the crew of the Nostromo answering a distress call on their way back home to Earth after mining some minerals, or kind of carrying minerals back home. And then during their little answer to this distress call, things go terribly wrong, and an alien creature kind of attaches itself to one of the crew members. Kane. I think, yeah, it's Kane. He is played by William Hurt. You may recognize him from Hellboy and a bunch of other stuff. You'll definitely recognize his voice. He has a very unique voice, and it's a pretty cool voice at that. So. And they have a lot of disagreement because they either want to freeze him, take it off to save his life, but it comes to find out that the creature on his face is actually providing oxygen to keeping him alive, so they can't take it off. And when they try to take it off, it has acid for blood, so it's just like it's a mess. So they ultimately just storm away, basically, and eventually the thing just kind of falls off his face. And he seems very fine until the big scene in this movie where they're just eating dinner, and all of a sudden the chest burster, kind of self-explanatory, bursts through his chest and just scatters away and starts to evolve. And that's where this movie really takes place. Really starts to get horrifying because it's a single alien in a very tight compartment, just a very small ship with a bunch of people, and they're very paranoid. And that's what makes the first one scary, because it's small, it's confined, single threat, very unequipped. They have to make their own weapons, make their own flamethrowers. So it's very cool. And I always watch the special editions of these movies because I think they're more well-rounded movies. The only really big difference with the first one is that there's a key scene that is always omitted. It's you actually see the one of the crew members that gets taken very early on in the movie again, because in the original theatrical version, you never see this particular character after he is taken, and in the special edition, you see him one last time asking Ripley to kill him, and she ends up burning him alive. So it's it's a really good scene, and it's also a great scene to watch in the special edition. I do like both versions. I just prefer the special edition because of that scene. So, which goes to the sequel, Aliens, and a little S, plural, and there is tons of aliens in this second movie, directed by James Cameron. T2, Avatar, True Lies. He's good at action movies. So that's what this second movie is, and it's action-driven sci-fi horror. because at the end of the first movie, Ripley is just kind of went back into cryostasis after defeating the alien, and she's just kind of floating around in space. And they have to find her, and she's like, it's like I can't remember. It's like I can't remember how. I can't. There's several. It's like at least 4 decades later. So she's been floating around in space quite a while, or at least 7 decades later. So her kid has died. So she was trying to make a home to her for her birthday. According to the timeline, I think. So she's like awakened in this new future, basically, and everyone's dead, and she's the only one alive, and her family, basically. And she just doesn't know what to do, but she finds out they have colonized that area where they first came in contact with the alien species. So they want her to go back, help her, because the colony has been not responsive at all, because in the special edition you find out why they aren't responsive, and that's why I like watching the special edition, because you actually meet a few new characters. They're very in this movie for like 2 minutes altogether, but it shows a nice way of like, oh, that's how the colony falls apart, because you meet Newt's parents, the little girl that they end up finding along the way in the second movie, and fighting their way back home. And that's what I like about the second one. It's very action packed, and it has some really cool scenes, and but it still has that intense horror sci-fi feeling. I mean, it's very different feeling from the first movie, but it's really awesome. It's a standalone movie, but it's a great sequel. That's what it is. It's a very great sequel. I don't want to spoil anything for that one, but there's a lot of gunfire. What else is there? There's some pretty. I'll get in the gore and stuff like that in a little bit. But the acting's really good. Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn. I mean, there's some really good people in the. Oh, and there's also. Sorry, I didn't talk about that. But I'll get the acting in a second. But the plot of the third one is where the movie kind of disappears. It goes back to the single alien. And that's what I really liked about the third one. I know a lot of people don't like the third one, but I love the third one a lot, especially the special edition. And that's the one I will be talking about a lot, because that's the biggest difference out of all the special editions, is that at the end of the second movie, Newt, Ripley, and Michael Bihn's character, they all go back into cryostasis, back up in space, and floating around, and malfunction happens, and one of those little alien face hugger things is on board, and causes a fire, and makes them crash land on this planet, which happens to be a maximum security planet prison, all guys. So Ripley's the only girl, and that's what I really hated about the third one. I hated that they killed Newton Hicks off, or I always forget he's not Hicks. I can't remember his name. I always get Bill Paxton and Michael Bihn's character mixed up, just their names. And I know who does what in the movie, I just forget their names. But they killed off Michael Bihn's character and Newt, so it's just back to Sigourney Weaver and the alien and a bunch of the convicts on this planet, and back to the single alien. And that's what I really liked about the third one. But what makes this one really good is because they're back to no weapons, and adds the single alien problem again. Sigourney Weaver is the only girl on this planet, and it's really cool. And all the convicts are high level, like rapists and murderers, and I mean they are just top of the line convicts, basically. So, but they're all reformed. They all kind of taken Jesus as their Lord and Savior, but it doesn't stop them from trying to move on. There is a short attempted rape scene in this movie, but it's surely thwarted. But anyways, the reason why I like the third one is because of the special edition, because in the theatrical, the facehugger attaches itself to a dog, and then in the new edition, it attaches it to a an ox. And I really like the ox version, and that's the special edition that I like the best. It's just better. I like it. Just seems better. I don't like the whole dog thing, but I do like the ox. And if you ever seen it, you'll understand. And if you don't like it, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But I always highly recommend the special edition of Alien 3 just because of that. And then Alien 3, the simple plot is just them trying to kill the alien with no weapons, and they're just trying to makeshift everything, which is why I like the Alien. So that's why I like Alien 3, because it resembles the first one a lot. Which leads to the fourth one. I have to do a little spoiler here. Ripley dies at the end of 3. Depending on what version you watch, she either just jumps into a bunch of molten steel, basically. I think that's what it is, or when she jumps on into the molten steel, an alien pops out of her chest. Either one. So, but in the fourth one, she's cloned, so it's not even the real Ripley. It's just a cloned version of Ellen Ripley, and I like the fourth one, but it just doesn't have the same atmosphere as the previous 3. Because they have the weapons. Even though the aliens are kind of smarter in this one, they're shinier, they're slimier. I like the darker, what's it called? Just the matte kind of color of them. They're just kind of like their dullness of them. That's what I really like. And if you ever seen the first Alien movie, you can even see a skull inside one of them. So I like the progression of them, and that's probably the highest remark I can say about the fourth one, is that they do look a little bit scarier because they're kind of shiny and they're just kind of very wet looking, and so. But there's really no threat, really. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could just hold up in a single room and just, boom, bottleneck the aliens into killing them. But there has to be an intimate threat, and that's where the ship that they're on is going to crash land on Earth, which has become a desolate, waste barren, whatever. And then whatever. It's just, I don't like the fourth one. I mean, I like it. Oh, sorry, the screen froze. But it just doesn't have the same atmosphere. So the acting of all 4 movies are actually really good, and I can say that about the fourth one because there are some really good moments of acting all the way through. There's some really great twists because of the acting, because you never really pick up on the details when they say stuff. There has been some, like, what movie was I talking about? It was during this year. I can't remember. It was just the way they said something that it was just like, oh, that's it. That's just the way they kind of said it. You know that they were the bad guy in this movie. I can't remember which movie it was, but it's just, you never pick up on the twist because they're good at hiding it. And so, the blood and guts through this series has been really good because you got. The first one was actually pretty tame in terms of blood and guts, even though because they wanted to go more atmosphere and scary, and I really liked that. Then the second one had a lot more alien blood and guts because the aliens kind of exploding in acid and the little thing that popped out of their mouths. They did more scenes like that, and then the third one was the goriest out of them because you had one guy fall into a fan. You got one of the really cool characters that I really liked. He ended up getting killed in a very bloody way, and it's just, I think the third one's the bloodiest. Then the fourth one, the fourth one wasn't even that bloody either. I mean, there were some disturbing scenes like the other cloned versions of Ripley, but other than that, the blood and guts for that one was just eh. But back the scare factor, the first one is the scariest. I will say that the first one will always be the scariest, and I say the third one will be the second scariest, and then the third scariest would be the second movie, and then fourth one will be the fourth scariest because that movie wasn't very scary at all, but it kind of resembled the second movie because of how action packed it was. but they didn't do a very well job of it. But that's really all I gotta say about these movies. I mean, this is the longest video of the date. I'm going on 15 minutes right now, but it's just, this is a very good series. I mean, I like Prometheus. I like the 2 Alien versus Predator movies. Even though I wish the AVPR was a little bit brighter, because it was a very dark movie. You could barely tell what was going on screen. And I wish but the first one was rated R. What should have been rated R. But I will give you my classification scale now. 1 being run-of-the-mill horror, 2 best watch with the group, 3 best watch with the group, 3 moves the horror genre forward, and 5 being a horror classic. Alien is a 5. It's a horror classic from start to finish. Aliens, now it's a horror classic, but it's also a 4. It really did help move the horror genre forward quite a bit, because Sigourney Weaver got nominated for an Oscar for that role, first time ever. A science fiction. It was I think it was the first time ever that a science fiction movie has been nominated for that big of an award outside of the special effects and stuff like that. And I mean, that was a big deal. And so that's why I put it as a 4, because it proved that you can have a strong female character in as a protagonist. And so that's why I like this series, because Ellen Ripley's awesome. Then Alien 3, I think that's tough. I think it's a 3.5, because it's more than average horror, because it's very scary in some scenes, and then you got it kind of replicates the first movie, but it's trying to do what the first one did, but it's still more than average, because there's some really great scares, and it's just really good. I really like it. It's a 3.5 for sure. It didn't help do anything move the horror genre forward, but it's more than average horror for sure. And Alien Resurrection is that's tough. I think it's probably best watched with a group, or it's a 1.5. It's just average horror. It really is. It really didn't help move the series forward at all. It practically killed the Alien series. It really did. Some people may say the third one did, but I think the fourth one did. Tremendously, because you didn't see Prometheus for a while after that. But it's a 1.5. It's just average horror, but it is best watched with a group with fellow Alien fanboys. So that's really it. My name is Max James, and I'm gonna go geek out.